Henri Desgrange was desperate to win a bitter circulation war with the competing sports newspaper. Staffer Georges Lefebvre suggested promoting a month-long bicycle race around France. There would be 6 days of racing, with several rest days in between. The winner would be the rider with the lowest elapsed time. With some hesitation, Desgrange agreed. In July of 1903, the Tour de France was born. The first edition was won by Maurice Guérin. The race was a hit, and Desgrange's paper, L'Auto, crushed the competition. The early tours were raced on single-speed bikes. They rode over dirt roads that turned to mud when it rained, and mountain passes that were often little more than goat paths. They were governed by a complex set of rules that were often cruel. Riders had to perform their own repairs. In the early days, this could mean repairing a broken fork at a blacksmith's shop. Desgrange, boss of the Tour until 1937, ruled the race with an iron fist. At first, the Tour avoided serious climbing, but in 1905 mountains were included in the route, and they were a hit. Before derailleurs, riders had to stop and flip their wheels around to use a different sprocket. Desgrange's goal was to make a race that was inhumanly difficult to finish. He succeeded. It wasn't until the 1950s that a majority of the starters could consistently finish what grew to be a nearly 5,000-kilometer race. In 1930, sure that companies sponsoring the race teams were corrupting his race, Desgrange threw the sponsors out and switched to national teams. With all the best French riders on the same team, the French ruled the Tour for 5 years before the Belgians and Italians took over. After the war, cycling in the Tour enjoyed a golden age, though Swiss and Italian riders dominated. In 1953, the French united behind Louis and Boulbet, who went on to win the Tour 3 times in a row. Jacques Anquetil was one of the most fascinating personalities in sports history. In 1957, he won the first of his 5 Tour victories. Anquetil had a unique style, winning time in individual races against the clock. He would maintain his lead by racing defensively the rest of the race. His duels with Raymond Poulidor enlivened the tours of the early 1960s. The first volume of the story of the Tour de France concludes with a legendary battle between Anquetil and Poulidor. The 1964 Tour reached its climax when they raced side by side at Puy de Dôme, neither athlete giving an inch.